Howdy, my totally tubular sharkaholics, and welcome back to the Shark Scale Year 4. Now, we got a real interesting movie here. This movie's just called Shark. Yeah, it's literally just called Shark, or in some territories it was known as Maneater, but it's generally just known as Shark 1969. This is the oldest shark movie we've ever looked at in this channel, and I don't plan on looking at anything older than this. Like, I was even stretching it with this movie, and it actually predates Jaws. So this is going to be really interesting, and I'll just leave it at that. Let's just get right into this interesting flick. So the movie known as Shark begins with a diver looking for sunken treasure in some abandoned ship deep underwater. It then sees him get killed by a shark, and so it seems that his partners are SOL and head back to the mainland. This movie actually takes place in a Sundanese town and actually sees a gun runner trying to do his job, air quotes. Well, it backfires and he ends up losing his truck full of stuff, so he is also SOL and in the same town. He is then hired by the people who lost their partner to the sharks to go treasure diving, basically. You know, this plot isn't actually that bad, especially when you take into account how old the movie is. It was actually quite original for the time, and I can't tell you how many movies came out in the late 60s that had a plot even kinda similar to this movie, and this movie came out before Jaws, so shark movies were basically unheard of. The movie has a couple quirky characters in it, such as this kid that helps the main guy out, or this shady police officer. The way the movie progresses is actually not as bad as you would expect, and the ending was quite unexpected. The plot actually managed to exceed my expectations. Was it a masterpiece? No, of course it wasn't. But was it actually pretty decent, especially for the time? Yeah, I think so. It had a number of memorable moments in it, and I think that this movie really was ahead of its time in many aspects. Now, something else that was pretty ahead of its time in this movie was the shark itself. I'm gonna just assume that there were real sharks that were filmed here the whole time, and I know that the stunt doubles that were here did swim with actual sharks, so that looks pretty fantastic. This was unheard of for the time. Years before Jaws was even conceptualized, we really had a movie where people were swimming around with the sharks and had people getting killed by sharks. There are only 2 deaths in the movie from a shark. However, one of them is incredibly realistic. It's to the point that it is scary, actually, how realistic it is, especially considering that B-roll footage didn't really exist then, and special effects, well, let's just say they aren't what they are today. Now, you know how I said it was scary realistic? Well, that's because it was. While researching this movie, I found out that the person who died in this movie, they actually died. Yeah, this person was straight killed on camera by a shark when they were filming the movie. The stuntman is dead. The actor is no more. So to say that this is the most realistic shark kill I've ever seen in a movie, yeah, that'd be a fair statement. Like, this dude actually died. What the hell? Like, this is a straight snuff film. Like, I don't even feel comfortable writing that this shark was able to kill, like, really well. How was the shark kill? Well, I don't really feel comfortable talking about that. Is it good? Is it bad? Like, no, I don't actually want to comment on how the shark kills were in this movie because the dude actually died. Like, the dude is dead. The other shark kill, like, it's not even worth mentioning. It's nothing compared to this. The stuntman is dead. This is the only shark movie that I've ever seen, at least to my knowledge, where someone actually died for real on camera. I mean, I'm sure I've seen a few shark movies where the sharks have died, but not a person. Like, Jesus, man, this is just heavy. And the fact that this was used as the marketing point of the movie is just the definition of exploitative. And I don't know how the stuntman's family felt about this. They probably didn't like it. There was probably some clause in his contract, though, that said if he died, his family would get like a bunch of money but couldn't sue, or I don't really want to speculate too much on it. That's just terrible. I'm not going to comment on anything else with the shark and its kills or anything like that because that's just not right. Now let's talk about the acting in this movie. The acting was actually pretty decent all around. Burt Reynolds was actually really good, and I'm still shocked that Burt Reynolds, of all people, is in this. And the other lead characters, they were good as well. They weren't as great as Burt, but they were passable, they were believable, they were decent accents. I'm sure that some of them were real. I'm going to say that everyone else, yeah, pretty similar, especially on the smaller side of characters. Like, they were all pretty fine. The dialogue in general was pretty decent. Some of it a bit contrived, but most of it seemed pretty alright. But there were a couple parts where it was cheesy even for the time. But in conclusion, for the acting, it was fine enough. It was pretty decent. I really don't have all that much to say about it. Honestly, it was just fine. And really, let's just close the shark scale out and say that Shark or Maneater or whatever this movie goes by, it's a fine enough movie. The first time I watched, though, the movie, I had no idea that the person who died actually died in real life, so I thought it was pretty good. I thought the plot was good. I thought it was ahead of its time. I thought the shark was great, the kills, all great, and the acting complemented it, being decent enough. However, after learning about the real-life death of the stuntman and everything surrounding the movie's production and marketing, I really just don't like this movie very much anymore. Like, ethically, I feel like I cannot like this movie. I mean, they literally exploited this dude's death, and if that doesn't scream messed up, I really don't know what does. So, when it comes to ranking this movie, like, it really affected my entire judgment. The fact that the guy actually died on screen really just affected everything for this movie. Like, it could have been a fantastic movie, but that one part and the marketing behind it really messed everything up. And so I was going to give this movie like a 3 out of 5 on the shark scale. It was pretty close to a 3, maybe even like, yeah, it was going to be a 3. But after all that bullshit that I mentioned with the guy dying, the marketing, no. I'm going to give this movie a 2 out of 5. Like, it had potential. It still is ahead of its time, but I almost feel dirty giving it even a 2 out of 5. Like, it should just not even get a rating, honestly, with how this is. And in good conscience, I just can't recommend this movie. Like, I don't think anybody should watch this movie because of what happened. Like, it really soured my entire opinion on this movie. And that's never happened before, and I doubt it'll ever happen again on this channel. At least I hope so. Part of me does feel bad for rating it. But, yeah, I mean, honestly, it just is what it is. And you want to talk about a legit horror movie? Yeah, this is a legit horror movie. I mean, the person died. How cool. Either way, I really don't want to talk about this movie anymore. I mean, it's a really old movie. Some people say it's classic. I don't know. I got all bad vibes from this movie. Hopefully I don't send any bad vibes your way. Everyone have a good one. See ya.